I played this many years ago, long before some of you watching this were probably even born. And it was like 1999 to 2001, depending on where you lived. Sony released this unassuming RPG into a genre that was still like very much growing on the console market in the 90s, the console RPG. And honestly, I kind of struggled to enjoy Legend of Dragoon. Anyone who's played it knows that its translation is a little rough around the edges. Like, it's, you think of like the worst mistakes of Japanese to English translations, and like it's that game has it. It's like it clearly never got a second pass. So it just
Yeah, it's. Oh, sorry.
it makes Google Translate look good, is what I'll say.
Oof.
And
Oof.
I felt like the leveling system was really slow and restrictive. You couldn't really grind out anything except for your additions, and there was only a few abilities to unlock. So I never really felt like I was doing much. In fact, I ended up not even continuing past the second disc because it just bored me. And that was like 2 decades ago. But then when our guest Rezo told me that he wanted to discuss it for side quests, I was initially very like, how am I going to do this? I don't like this game. So how can we have this discussion and like show what is good about the game? So I actually went ahead and replayed it a few weeks ago, kind of hoping that maybe after 2 decades, my opinions might have changed a little, that I might finally actually see what so many other people like yourselves actually see in this game. And well, I want to hear what Rezo has to say about The Legend of Dragoon.
Joe, he cut my head off. Did you see that? He cut my head off.
What a wuss.
Now playing on PlayStation, rated T for teens.
PlayStation.
I like the game. I hate the game. And then I like kind of like the game, but I acknowledge the game has problems. And there are some aspects of the game I think still hold up even now, even as you say, when you don't have a lot of stuff to work towards. The first one is the addition system. The system that I think completely breaks the fucking video game over its own, over the knee. During my playthrough about a year ago of this game on my channel, I realized very quickly that if you focus on just being really good at additions, you will out damage literally every other means of damage in the game. Magic items, it doesn't matter. You just out damage everything. What I also realized was that I have terrible reflexes and that there are just certain characters I just can't use.
So
great.
Allow me to explain first of all like what the addition system is. Basically, when you do an attack, you also have to time a button press. It basically appears on the screen. You have to time it with like when the things line up. And if you miss it, you basically just don't do the whole combo. So your reflexes are intrinsically tied to how it, also you can't level it up unless you finish the combo. So your progress is intrinsically tied to how good your timing is.
Yeah, and how doable a particular addition is. So certain characters are just easier to do than others. You know, picking up Dart and doing his additions, fairly easy. Right? Doing Lavitz, fairly easy. You get to Albert and Maru. Well, I hope you're a coked up 7-year-old because that's the only way you're completing these. Because I can't. I won't say I cheated, but I had to use some creative means to get by them, that's for sure. But I think the reason why I'm okay with the addition system is because it isn't brainless. right? If you're gonna grind your additions, you actually do have to be paying attention, all right? You're not just sitting there mashing X like people say about most turn-based RPGs, right? Oh, I'm just running around mashing X for the next 2 hours. I mean, you are mashing X, but you are actively mashing X versus just brainlessly mashing it. So,
So
take
it's not
it or
just
leave
pick
it.
your attack and hit your enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, because you do have to pay attention. I mean, maybe there are people who can not look at the screen and know the timing, but I'm
No,
not
no,
that.
no.
I'm not that guy.
The addition system's
Not
actually
me.
what like put me off the game when I was younger, and I severely struggled to beat the first boss of the first disc, and I don't consider myself a bad gamer. I've finished most Shin Megami Tensei games. I like hardcore, but whatever it was about the design of the game, I just could not beat the first boss. Sorry, not the first boss, the last boss on the first disc. And that just, until like 20 tries, it just soured the whole experience for me. I'm like, I don't want to continue this. I did
Is that what you
eventually.
played more recently or originally?
Originally, this is back in like 2001, I would have been like 19. And I just never went back. I just never went back to it. But I heard people loving this game and just adoring this game, and that there's something about this game that like it recently came back out on the PS5 as a emulation, upscaled emulation, which that had its own issues when it initially came out, but thankfully those have been fixed. But
it also had trophies too, which
is
made
kind
me
of cool.
suddenly question my playthrough because I was like, "Oh,
I didn't
how
get
close
everything.
am I to a platinum?" And then I saw the trophies, and I'm like, "Oh, they're just story completion."
Yeah.
Never mind.
That's
Fair enough.
slightly disappointing, but
I have a question about that version. Does it have an option, because the pixel remasters for Final Fantasy has spoiled me, does it have an option to skip the random encounters?
I don't actually
no,
know.
because as these are just emulated, they're just the
Oh, okay.
original game. So there's nothing in the core design of the game that's actually been changed. It's literally just an emulated PS1 game with trophies and turn into really freaking cool dragoons.
Yeah, you can turn into Power Rangers. Really cool Power Rangers. In Legend of Dragoon.
Though you'll see them here in about 5 minutes, actually. Those designs are still amazing. Like, whatever about the data graphics, I still think those designs look freaking cool. Like,
I don't know, man. I think
no,
I think Dragoon holds up better than 7.
no, I'm talking about dragoons.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't even say Dragoon's dated though. I think Dragoon holds up pretty well graphically.
No. What I'm saying is the designs of the dragoons specifically, Dart's outfit when he turns into a dragoon, still is just a cool design that has aged beautifully.
Yeah, I would love to see that, like a more modern,
give me
updated take on it.
Give me a Legend of Dragoon freaking remake with like PS5 graphics and an open world. And like, it's never going to happen, but a kid can dream. Because as much as we're criticizing the system, there are things to love about this game. And I assume you didn't pick this game just to crap on it. So I would actually love to hear, like, specifically, what is it about this game that kind of like stuck with you, and what is it that you really appreciate about the experience of playing The Legend of Dragoon?
Well, the things that stuck with me are the characters in a lot of cases. This earlier part has one of my favorite character duos, I think, in the entire game, which is Darts and Lavitz, or as I like to say, the ultimate bromance of all time. Two dudes who will stick by each other no matter how dangerous a situation looks, and are totally ride or die for each other, and I love them for it. At one point, Lavitt shows you around his house, and it's the most bro thing imaginable between like two dudes. I love it so much.
And his mother
Also,
is such a mother.
yeah, his mom is the greatest mom. And here in the actual video clip, you have actually something I had mentioned in the document, which was the boss fights. And Kongol is such a great example of a boss fight that really emphasizes like the thing that Dragoon does really well, which is it takes the addition system and says, okay, if you mess up your additions, Kongol just fucking suplexes you.
Yeah, as you saw right there. If you miss it, he gets an attack if you don't succeed, and that's
if you don't succeed, he just suplexes the living shit out of you. And that's the thing. And I love that kind of mechanic where it's like if you don't make a good move against an enemy, in a lot of cases the bosses have a retaliation for it. You mess up your addition against Kongol, he's going to get a free attack. And believe me, those attacks hurt.
Please ignore the multiple times that I did miss my attack in this footage. That was entirely my own fault.
That's where I can take it back for watching my dodging in Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, those attacks hurt. Which I really appreciate. And some of the later bosses even play off of that even more, where certain bosses have certain kinds of retaliation attacks depending on how you attack them. So if you try to exploit a magic weakness, they're going to retaliate with a really powerful spell in return because you tried to do that. Or if you attack them at a certain time when you shouldn't, they retaliate with a really powerful attack to tell you to go fuck yourself. I mean, it's really, really good. And to the game's credit, most of the bosses have that unique aspect about them where it's not just smashing a boss till they die. It's, okay, what's this boss's gimmick? How is this boss going to try to screw me if I just sit here and smash his face in? You know, there's one boss in particular. I don't want to spoil it because he is a story boss. So I'm not
You
gonna
can spoil stuff. Well, don't say his name, but just, yeah.
There's a certain platinum-haired individual you fight towards the end of the game who will just sometimes just straight up dodge your attacks. And it's not just you miss. It's he dodges you and says too slow. Or not even close.
What is he? Freaking Sonic the Hedgehog?
You would think.
You're too slow.
You would think. I mentioned in the document about another boss called Faust, who is this game's super boss. And I mentioned him because he is like the core design of this game brought to its like greatest form. He is one of the fastest enemies in the game. He can get upwards of 5 attacks in one turn. He hits you with devastating magic, but he only does this if you attack him. So what that means is...
So you have to find a way to hurt him without attacking him?
No, but what this means is that you can plan... So if you decide to heal yourself, he will not attack you.
Okay.
Right?
Ah, yeah.
So,
okay.
So, you know...
He sounds very honorable.
So he... Like I said,
he's the nicest super boss ever made.
He'll get upwards of 5 attacks, and depending on how well geared you are, he'll just outright obliterate you completely.
It reminds me of Emmett Selk in like FF14, in that like he knows he's better than you. He doesn't have to prove himself. He's gonna let you heal yourself because he's just gonna melt your face in the next attack.
He's gonna win anyways.
So.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, I love this. I love this scene. This is the pinnacle of Legend of Dragoon.
This is it.
Right
this
here.
is when you get the cool stuff. Tell me those designs don't look pretty badass, even for a PS1 game. Like, and it was hard to make stuff look good on the PS1. Like you can see the amount of polygons, but
Yeah,
it's just,
especially for especially for like 3D graphics. It was
yeah,
really hard
that
to
hair,
make 3D.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we
So this
go.
was this made by Sony? Like, was this
This
a
was
first
made
party
by
game?
Japan. Rest in peace, Japan Studios, which was owned by Sony. So they actually, I think it was one of the few times they ever really dived into the the RPG genre seriously. And even Square Enix wasn't making cutscenes like this in real time, because it was all like CGI. But this is all in engine. Yeah.
Yeah, the majority
Look at that.
of the scenes are in engine. I didn't mention this in the list, but I think I still have a little bit of time left to mention this before we wrap it up.
Yeah, well, at least
There
5 more minutes. Yeah.
there is voice acting in this game.
It's not very
It
good voice
exists.
acting.
It is terrible voice acting. Oh, okay. Here's how bad. All right. Oh my god. I'm gonna have an aneurysm talking about this now because this brings back the worst of memories. The final cutscene of this game isn't the voices are not synced to the characters.
In
I don't
fairness,
just-
though, that's not uncommon for 19 pre-2000s anything.
We're not even
foreign.
close though.
Okay.
It's not even like we're not talking like Final Fantasy X mouth flaps don't match up. Like I can tolerate that. That was fine. We're talking
Oh, it's like he stopped moving his mouth and the character still.
yeah. Yeah. Or like the voices happen well after the characters or after the animation's already ended,
Over.
but the character's still talking. Yeah, it's so bad. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for the development for this game because I really want to know how that happened.
I'd say it probably happened because back then you just got someone in a booth, they recorded their lines, and that was it. And whoever was responsible for like localizing that and putting it together, there just wasn't like a lot of time or money or manpower given to that, and they just kind of had to work with what they had, I guess.
Just as a reminder for those of you that don't remember, Final Fantasy VI was localized by like what, one dude?
Yeah,
Tim
Ted
Woosley? Wasn't
Ted
that the
Woosley,
case?
yeah.
He was like
In a couple
one
of
dude.
weeks, by the way. That was they had to do that in like a couple. Now you've got like freaking Final Fantasy 14. You've got like 7 or 8 different people on just one language. It's kind of wild.
Legend of Dragoon is one of those really, really weird, niche kind of JRPGs that shouldn't work. I don't feel like it should work.
It's
I
got
don't-
so many problems.
Yeah, it shouldn't work, but it has just enough charm where it counts to have
Yeah.
this.
Do you think they'll ever have a sequel for it? I mean, it
No.
I don't think they've touched
No.
it since.
A sequel, like an actual like
Or
Yeah.
even just a remake.
I mean,
No, they've tried to bring it back, and even that was a disaster. Do you remember a little game
remember.
called PlayStation All Stars?
Yeah, that's actually my only like touch point. It's the only reason I even knew this game existed is because of that thing in PlayStation All Stars.
He was supposed to come out. He never did because the game didn't
Yeah.
do well. And from what I've been told, and I cannot verify this, but from what I've seen verified sources, they were planning to introduce him, see how that went, and consider a future for the game. For Legend of Dragoon past that, like if there was enough demand for this character, they would maybe like consider bringing it back in some capacity. And then nobody bought PlayStation All Stars, and it never happened.
I think there's as much of a chance of that happening as us seeing Beyond Good and Evil 2 in a form that
In our
I would
lifetime.
approve of. Yeah, and in my foreseeable lifetime.
You break my heart, Rezo.
Yeah.
Even just for back then, seeing a woman in the lead role was just very uncommon. It was Lara Croft, and that was really it. Funnily enough, it's actually a lot of Japanese style RPGs that were really pushing to actually have women characters front and center in the stories, and that because everyone in the West was a butch space marine at that point. Like you had like Tifa, you had Yuna, you have Ash and 12. It's like Garnet. They were all fully developed, crucial characters central to the narrative. And even this game, Rose here, freaking badass. Like she's like the foundation of like the entire past of like this narrative, and probably the second most important, like probably the most important character within the actual story itself, I would say.
Yeah, no, she's one of the most important, just beside Dart.
And they're not wearing a skimpy bikini or a really stupid outfit.
And she doesn't get kidnapped.
And she doesn't get kidnapped. Wow, yeah, that is a miracle. Like even now, that's a freaking miracle.
She doesn't get kidnapped ever. If you have like 35 hours and you're willing to try out something that I would actually say is an experimental take on a JRPG and on a combat system, I say, yeah, why not? Screw it. Give it a shot. You might actually like it. And honestly, it's not even that long of a game, really, when you really boil it down. It's actually fairly short, all things considered, RPG-wise, considering how bloated our video game market is these days.
Nowadays, yeah. But it's bloated with filler, not content. That's the problem. It's all find 500 feathers. Like, no. How about no? How about you give me 500 hours of story? Maybe then I'll...
Yeah, so if you want to try something experimental for a PS1 game that has a really questionable localization, but it's still a pretty fun game,
and
definitely give Legend of Dragoon a shot.
Hey there, folks. I know nobody wants to listen to a creator shill themselves for 90 seconds, so I'm not going to. If you enjoyed this, we do the show live every Sunday on Twitch at 6 p.m. BST. Feel free to pop over TNEQL. And if you would like to support us in making the channel bigger and helping it grow, you can also check us out on Patreon, also at TNEQL. Take care of yourselves. Stay beautiful.